What if I told you that a pair of $3 duct tape sneakers could bring down a multi-millionaire and change thousands of lives forever? 3 months ago, I was Jake Wilson, a broke nurse working double shifts, wearing shoes held together by super glue and hope. Today, I'm debt-free, my mom is cancer-free, and a man who once mocked me in public lost everything. But this isn't a fairy tale. This is what happens when someone mistakes your worn shoes for a lack of worth and discovers they picked the wrong person to humiliate. The man who laughed at my shoes in that Manhattan Starbucks had no idea he was about to become the most hated person on the internet. And I had no idea that my quiet response would spark a movement that would reach millions. This is the true story of how 47 seconds of video changed everything, not just for me, but for every hardworking person who's ever been made to feel small because of what they couldn't afford. Trust me, you've never heard a comeback story quite like this one. My name is Jake Wilson, and I'm about to tell you how a pair of 3-year-old sneakers changed my entire life in ways I never could have imagined. It was a gray Saturday afternoon in late October when I stepped off the Amtrak train at Penn Station. The familiar weight of exhaustion pressed down on my shoulders. I'd just finished a brutal 16-hour shift at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago, and my body was running on nothing but determination and too much coffee. But I couldn't rest yet. Mom's treatment appointment at Memorial Sloan Kettering was scheduled for Monday morning, and I needed to be there with her. As I walked through the bustling streets of Manhattan, the autumn wind cut through my thin jacket. I pulled it tighter around me, feeling the worn fabric strain against the movement. Everything about this city seemed to cost more than I could afford, from the $4.50 subway ride to the overpriced hotel room I'd booked for Mom and me. But some things, like being there for your mother during her cancer treatment, aren't negotiable. I found myself standing outside a Starbucks on the Upper East Side, its warm glow spilling onto the sidewalk like a beacon. The place looked expensive, all marble counters and Edison bulb lighting. But I needed caffeine if I was going to make it through the next few hours of preparing for Mom's appointment. Looking down at my feet, I sighed at the sight that had become so familiar. My Nike Air Max sneakers, once white with blue accents, now told the story of 3 years of 12-hour shifts, double overtime, and countless miles walked through hospital corridors. The left shoe had a crack along the side that I'd sealed with super glue. The right one had a hole near the toe that I'd covered with duct tape, silver against the faded fabric. The laces were mismatched, one original, one a replacement I'd bought from a dollar store. These weren't just shoes anymore. They were a testament to every life I'd helped save, every family I'd comforted, every moment I'd chosen to spend my money on Mom's medical bills instead of replacing something that still, technically, worked. The cafe's warmth hit me as I pushed through the glass doors. The scent of espresso and pastries filled the air, mixing with the low hum of conversations and the soft jazz playing overhead. I took my place in line behind a man in an impeccably tailored suit, his silver hair perfectly styled, a Rolex Submariner catching the light on his wrist. Everything about him screamed money, from his Italian leather shoes that probably cost more than I made in a month, to the way he held himself with the confidence that comes from never having to check your bank balance before buying coffee. I didn't know it then, but this man was Richard Sterling. I'd learn his name soon enough, when it would be plastered across social media for all the wrong reasons. As I stood there, I felt the familiar pinch in my left foot where the shoe had worn thin. I shifted my weight, trying to find a comfortable position, when I noticed my right shoelace had come undone. The frayed end dragged slightly on the polished floor. Without thinking much of it, I bent down to retie it, my fingers working quickly with the practiced motion of someone who'd done this countless times. The duct tape crinkled slightly as I adjusted the lace, and I was careful not to pull too hard on the weakened fabric. That's when I heard it. A low chuckle at first, then building into full laughter. Rich, condescending laughter that seemed to fill the entire cafe. Oh my God, the voice said, dripping with amusement and disgust. "Are you serious right now?" I looked up from my crouched position to see Richard Sterling turned around, his perfectly veneered smile wide with mockery. His eyes were fixed on my shoes with the kind of fascination someone might reserve for a car accident. "Those things," he continued, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet cafe, "are an absolute disaster. How do you even walk in those? They look like they've been through a war zone." Heat rushed to my face as I slowly stood up. Every eye in the cafe was now on us, on me. A young woman with her laptop paused mid-keystroke. An elderly couple by the window had stopped their conversation entirely. Even the baristas had gone quiet, their movements deliberate and careful as they tried to appear busy while clearly listening. "I mean, seriously," Richard pressed on, apparently enjoying his audience. "Those shoes are older than my Rolex." He raised his wrist slightly, letting the expensive timepiece catch the light. "You know what's really embarrassing, though? You're standing in a place like this, trying to fit in, when you clearly—" He paused, looking me up and down with theatrical disgust. "Don't belong here." The silence in the cafe was deafening. I could feel my heartbeat in my temples, could taste the metallic tang of humiliation in my mouth. This was the moment every person who's ever struggled financially dreads. Being called out, being made to feel less than human because of what you can't afford. But as I stood there, looking at this man who'd probably never worked a day of real labor in his life, something inside me shifted. Instead of shame, I felt something else rising up from deep in my chest. Anger, pure, righteous anger. And then, something that surprised even me. Clarity. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. My fingers steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me, swiped to the camera app. Without breaking eye contact with Richard Sterling, I hit record. "What are you doing?" he asked, his confidence wavering for the first time. I turned the camera to face me, then adjusted the angle to capture both of us in the frame. "My name is Jake Wilson," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "And I want everyone to hear this story." The cafe remained silent, but now it felt different. Instead of the suffocating quiet of social embarrassment, it felt like the hushed anticipation of an audience waiting for a show to begin, and I was about to give them one they'd never forget. "My name is Jake Wilson," I repeated into the camera, my voice growing stronger with each word. "I'm a registered nurse at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. I've been wearing these shoes for 3 years." I could see Richard Sterling's face in the frame, his expression shifting from smug confidence to visible discomfort as he realized what was happening. "These shoes," I continued, lifting my right foot slightly so the camera could capture the duct tape and worn fabric, "have walked over 5,000 miles through hospital corridors. They've been with me through 16-hour shifts, through code blues, through moments when families get the worst news of their lives." The cafe was dead silent now. Even the espresso machine seemed to have stopped hissing. "Last Tuesday night, these shoes ran with me as I performed CPR on a 7-year-old girl who went into cardiac arrest. We got her heart beating again. She went home to her parents on Thursday." I turned the camera toward Richard, whose face had gone pale. "This gentleman just told me I don't belong here because of my shoes, that they're embarrassing, that I should buy dignified footwear or stay home." Richard started to speak, but I wasn't finished. "Sir, I have one question for you," I said, my voice calm but cutting. "In all the years you've owned those $2,000 Louboutins, have they ever saved a life?" The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Richard's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, but no sound came out. "That's what I thought," I said quietly. I ended the recording and, without another word, walked out of the Starbucks. My hands were shaking as I stood on the sidewalk, the October wind biting at my face. I'd never done anything like that before. I wasn't someone who made scenes or confronted people. But something about that moment had pushed me past every limit I'd set for myself. Almost without thinking, I opened TikTok and uploaded the video. For the caption, I wrote, "When privilege meets purpose." Shoes with purpose. Real heroes. Nurse life. Then I put my phone away and walked toward the subway, trying to forget what had just happened. I had no idea I'd just changed everything. I was sitting in Mom's hospital room the next morning when my phone started buzzing. And buzzing. And buzzing. "Honey, your phone's been going crazy for an hour," Mom said weakly from her bed, managing a small smile despite the chemo exhaustion. "Did you win the lottery?" I looked at my screen and froze. 2.3 million views, 450,000 likes, 89,000 shares. "Oh my God," I whispered. The comments were pouring in faster than I could read them. "This nurse is a hero. Richard Sterling is trash. I'm a teacher, and my shoes look just like his. We keep society running while rich jerks mock us. Someone find this nurse and buy him new shoes." But it wasn't just comments. News outlets were reaching out. My hospital's PR department was calling. And then I saw it. A video response from Richard Sterling himself. In the video, he sat in what looked like his office, expensive art visible behind him. "I want to apologize," he said, but his eyes looked more angry than sorry. My comments were taken out of context. I simply believe in maintaining certain standards. The response was immediate and brutal. His apology video got ratioed with dislikes. People were posting screenshots of his business dealings, calling for boycotts. By Tuesday, the hashtag #shoes with purpose was trending globally. Thousands of healthcare workers, teachers, and service workers were posting photos of their worn work shoes with stories of the lives they'd touched. Then came the phone call that changed everything. "Mr. Wilson, this is Sarah Chen from Comfort Walk Shoes. We've seen your video, and we'd like to do something." Within a week, Comfort Walk had launched a program providing free, high-quality work shoes to every nurse, teacher, and first responder who applied. They featured my story in their campaign, but more importantly, they'd helped over 10,000 essential workers get proper footwear. 3 months later, I was debt-free. The GoFundMe that strangers had started raised enough to pay off my student loans and cover Mom's treatment. Job offers came from hospitals across the country. A nursing scholarship was established in my name, Richard Sterling. His tech investments tanked as partners distanced themselves. He lost 3 major contracts worth millions. Last I heard, he was selling his Manhattan penthouse. But the real victory wasn't his downfall. It was the nurse from Detroit who messaged me saying the free shoes helped her through 14-hour COVID shifts. It was the teacher from Phoenix who said she finally felt valued. It was my mom, cancer-free now, telling me how proud she was. I still have those old shoes. They're sitting on a shelf in my new apartment, not as a reminder of humiliation, but of the moment I learned that dignity isn't something you wear on your feet. It's something you carry in your heart. And sometimes, when the world tries to make you feel small, the best response isn't to shrink. It's to stand tall and remind everyone what really matters.